from a lot of our potential customers around something like, why is it that a lot of your competitors make so many more dials than you? Or this company makes so many more dials for a similar price. I think we're going to go with them. And in the back of my mind, I'm actually satisfied. I'm happy that we're actually still doing something different and no one else is doing it the way that we are, that we're looking at a dial completely differently. But in the front of my mind, I have to be cognizant of the fact that I have to educate this potential client on what a real dial is. I mean, you could take 5, 10 different outsourced SDR companies and they'd all have a different definition of what a dial is. And that's why I wrote this blog. The blog is super important and critical to understanding what a real dial is in a cold call. So when I get that comment, though, a lot of times I always ask one of two questions. One, if they're making more dials than us, then are they overseas or are they USA based? And number two, are they using a power dialer? So they could be doing, the same amount of calls per hour, but doing it at a cheaper rate, right? So they could be overseas, or if they're in the U.S. And that's the same type of worker that's doing the outreach, then they could be using a power dialer. And so it's typically one of these two things. Actually, in fact, I've never seen it any other way. It is physically impossible to make more than about between 20 and 40 calls an hour as it stands if you're making manual calls, even with a VoIP system or a voice over IP on your computer, let alone a corded phone at your desk. And so I wrote this blog because it really dives into what is behind a dial. How important is every single stimulus that happens in the way that we respond to that on a call? For instance, if it's a ring and ring, how long do we wait on the call before we hang up? We've had plenty of situations where decision makers are picking up the phone after 30 seconds, a minute, or a minute and a half. How are we treating gatekeepers? Are we having longer conversations with them to identify if they're the right person to speak with, or if there's someone else that we need to talk to, and at least giving them some nuggets of information that could help get us to where we need to go? Or lastly, is this a situation where, our team members are having long 5 to 25-minute conversations with decision makers, let alone a 1 to 2 minute conversation that doesn't really end anywhere? So looking at what a dial is and all of the things that go behind it is the reason I wrote this blog, and is super critical to understanding what you're getting when you're choosing an outsourced SDR partner. It doesn't mean that parallel dialers are automatically demonized and should be banished. There's actually a time and place for them, but they are showing up as spam likely way more, and there's gaps between pickup and answer. So if that's not going to hurt your market, or your market doesn't care about that, then maybe this is a good tool to use, especially if you have a really wide, large marketplace, right? But if this is a situation where you don't want to decimate the market with power dials, you want to have a reputation when you're calling, and you only have a minimum number of people that you can reach out to, manual dials are going to time after time not only get you more appointments, but also more conversations, because more people are going to pick up the phone. So check this blog out. I think it's super helpful in identifying what a real dial is as we continue to clean up the sales profession and ensure that the prospects are getting our best foot forward so that they can actually enjoy and see the value of having human-to-human sales conversations again.